Hello everyone, welcome back to Just My Stupid Opinion. I'm Adrian Lloyd. So today I just wanted to continue talking about the situation that went down in Nova Scotia almost 2 months ago. Because the RCMP ended up doing a press conference the other day, and it was more of them protecting themselves. They didn't really answer any questions that people really wanted to know, and them just stroking their own ego. In fact, I don't think it was much of a coincidence that they happened to do the update on the anniversary of the Moncton shooting, where those RCMP officers were killed. But anyway, so I was on Seamus's stream, Little Grey Cells, who, if you still have not subscribed to, go subscribe to him, and I'd also recommend you subscribe to Steve LTT's channel. But anyway, I was on Seamus's stream the other day, and we were discussing, going over what was said during the press conference, some of the problems with there, and then we got talking about the situation that went down in Shuby when it was the shooting of Chad Morrison and the death of Heidi Stevenson. And as we were kind of going through it, there was another problem that arose, and this has to do with the warrant that was released, the information that was available in the warrant, what they're telling us about that situation that went down. And and when we sort of you look at it and you look at it on a map and how it doesn't really add up the way that they want to present it. So we have here one of the warrants. This is the first warrant that ended up getting unsealed by the RCMP. Still a lot of redactions on it, but we can go through and we can figure out what they are talking about. So, on section 21.21, near exit 9 on Highway 2 near the EHS station, Emergency Health Services Station, Constable Chad Morrison, a peace officer and member of the RCMP, was shot blank times. Constable Morrison was shot blank. Constable Morrison survived the shooting. So, a lot of redactions in there, including how many times he got shot, which I don't know why they had to redact it. But let's focus on what it ended up saying there. It said they were near exit 9 on Highway 2. Now, this is a little bit interesting, because as we look at it here, this is Highway 2 right here. This right here is Highway 2, and then adjacent to that is Highway 14, which leads on to this main vein over here, which is Highway 102, which connects to a couple of the other highways on there. So they're saying that was on exit 9 of Highway 2. Now, when you put that into your Google Maps, Highway 2, exit 9, Nova Scotia, it comes out over on this area right here. So, for what we can tell, this is the area that they're making reference to when they say near exit 9 on Highway 2. And this actually would kind of add up, because if we do Street View on here, which is actually Highway 102, but if we go somewhere around right here, I think it'll show us a little farther back, and we can see the street signs that are on here. It does say that at least this is exit 9 for Highway 102 leading toward Milford, Shuby, Milford, and Rodson. So that would seem to add up to what they're ending up saying. You put into Google Maps, seems to be right in this direction, happens to be exit 9 for 102. Okay, perfect. So, without actually knowing the exact location, I would theorize that it's somewhere around this area right here. It'll work for us for what we're going to be talking about. So anyway, I'm going to be color coding this just to make it a little bit easier. So we're going to have Chad Morrison, who's going to be green, Wortman is going to be red, and blue is going to be Heidi Stevenson. So we have Chad Morrison in somewhere around this location right here. And then we have Wortman, who is making his way down from the north, and according to the reports that were released, according to some articles, it ends up saying that Morrison was approached from behind by an RCMP vehicle, but the fact that he was supposed to be meeting up with Heidi Stevenson, he didn't think much of it until Wortman opened fire on him. So this ended up going down right here, Morrison was shot, to which point he abandoned his position since he was injured, and he began making his way towards the nearest medical facility. Now, one thing I wanted to point out that's kind of interesting is they say over here in the warrant that they say that he was in this near the emergency health service station. There's not really one that close to this location. If we go over here, this is final location for Nova Scotia Health Authority. If we kind of take a look in here, so we're talking about around where it says Milford Station. So that's where Morrison is. The two closest locations are, well, we can say the three is Truro. We have this location, which is a little farther down, Highway 102 over there. And then we have this one over here in Middle Muscotaboit. And I definitely butchered that name. So, as far as I can tell, there is not a medical facility close to it. As far as I can tell. So, I digress, though. So, this is what ended up happening. Morrison gets shot, abandons his position because he's injured, and then soon after, minutes later, is, maybe not even, is when Morrison met Heidi Stevenson. Now, we can confirm, we know this for a fact, that this location in Shubenacadie, more specifically, right here, which is it's the on-ramp from Highway 2, leading back to Highway 2. It continues around, like this is it, Highway 2 right here, and it Highway 2 continues this way. Okay. We can confirm. We can confirm, there we go, perfect, that it was this location to where this situation went down with Heidi Stevenson, and we can confirm this by a couple different landmarks. So one in particular is, we'll take a quick look at this video here that was taken after the death of Heidi Stevenson and when the cars are on fire, and there's a few things that we can kind of see in this video. So we can see that it is clearly going to be here which is the on-ramp for Highway 2. And you've got the guardrail there. We have the do not enter sign, as well as the light post over here. Okay, so we can confirm that. And then if we even take a look at the photos, one, there's a gazebo here. Now, if we go down to Street View, we can see that our gazebo is right there. We can even sort of get a little bit of a different look from it from behind. If we go about right here, we can see that this is the gazebo from the pictures. Now, if we look through a little bit more, another one is this water tower here. We're getting another picture here, and it seems to be this water tower. So if we go back, we exit Street View over here. We have to kind of move up a little bit. There's something about right here. We will be able to see this water tower, as you can see off in the distance over here. So we have the videos, we have we have the pictures that can confirm the location. We go a little bit back this way. We can see it's got the guardrail, it's got the same curve, it's got the do not enter sign. Perfect. We have this confirmed. This is something we can say for a fact is where the location was. We even have, off in the distance over here, as you can see, we've got the light post, the exact same light post, so we confirm this. Now, here's where the problems begin. So, first of all, before we even actually get into that, I think we can do this another way. Here we have where Chad Morrison engaged with Wortman. Now, here's the problem. See if I can get a little bit more. Yeah, that should be good. Okay, perfect. So once again, here, roughly, is where Chad Morrison was engaged by Wortman. He ended up getting injured. He retreated. Right there. So leading up to this, we know the location that Wortman was coming from. He was coming from Truro. We saw the pictures of him in Truro. We have the camera of from the cigar shop, which is a little bit north of Shubenacadie in Millbrook. And then it comes down through Brookfield, so he comes to come down. So what he would have had to do, we'll go over here for a little bit closer, is he would have been coming down this way. Would have been coming down this way, most likely, taken this off-ramp, and then proceeded down Highway 2, heading towards where Chad Morrison was. I think it's unlikely that he was on a different path, such as the 102, judging from how he seemed to be following the same route. If you follow the map upwards, if you go all the way up, you can kind of make it out. I'll even switch over to here. So we head north. So right around this area right here, yeah, the Millbrook Trading Post. That is, actually, there's our cigar shop right there where we had the video of him getting out of the car. Then they said he was in Brookfield. So while it's possible he took the 102, I think it was most likely he continued on the 2. But here's the point. Here's the point on that. Is that he engaged our buddy down here at this location. So going on my best guess, he ended up coming down through Shubenacadie, went on the 2 as we saw back here. He would have taken the off-ramp, come down, made a left, started heading down to number 2, which is right here. Heading all the way down here. Down. He would have gone all the way down to go, and that's when he would have come across Chad Morrison. And then he did one of two things. He either pulled a complete 180, he did a complete 180, and started going back up the 2 once again, all the way back up, all the way, to engage Stevenson at Shubenacadie, since we can confirm this is the location. He either did that, which would be our second path, or he ended up making a turn over here, which is sort of blocked by this map thing here, but if I move the whole map, then all of these, all the paint I've done is going to move. So, he comes out here, he turns onto Highway 224, because Highway 224 connects through this vein over here. You would have taken Highway 2 connects to Highway 14, and from Highway 14 you get back onto 224, and he would have followed that up all the way to engage Heidi Stevenson at Shubenacadie. Then, after all this, he would have turned around once again and come all the way back down. It's getting a little confusing because there's so many different... It's so much red on the map. So let's even make this a little bit easier to see. So he ended up... We will switch this over to yellow. So he's in the silver tracker after Shubenacadie, and he came all the way down here to about this location, maybe a little bit further down, to go to Gina Goulet's place to kill her. Because they said he was not in the silver tracker for long, and he ended up after this going to the Enfield gas station where he was seen with the Mazda, with Gina Goulet's Mazda. So here's where things don't make sense. We know he was on his way to Gina Goulet's place. Most of his victims were targeted aside for a few along the way. I do agree with that, what the RCMP have said, because that's the way it appears to me. If most of he had locations he was going to. For instance, when he went north to go get not security guards, the correctional officers, he was going there deliberately. He had a reason to go out there, and then I think his name was Tom Bagley, was one of their neighbors who ended up getting gunned down in the process. It seems clear to me that this was his intention. But look at this loop-de-loop that he ended up having to do. So instead of heading directly for Gina Goulet's place, he ended up engaging Morrison down here, and then going all the way up to engage Stevenson up here, and then proceeded to Gina Goulet's place instead of going directly to Gina Goulet's place. But there's more of a problem than just this. Because according to the RCMP in their testimony in this recent press conference, what they said is, again, Stevenson is in blue, is that Stevenson was going the correct way when she was engaged by Wortman. So what they mean by that is this whole situation, the shooting took place somewhere around right here. And here's the thing. This ramp right here is an on-ramp. So you would be coming from down here on the 2, coming around, and then you would continue this way, heading north. So that's the way it would have worked. So when they said that Gina Goulet was going the right way, that means she was proceeding this way, and she was getting onto the on-ramp, and she was on this on-ramp, heading this way, when she met up with Wortman. So that's why I see it unlikely that that Wortman, if we go back to our original map, that's why I think it's unlikely that he took the Highway 224, because if that was the case, Wortman would have been coming up this way, which means he either had to turn down here, which would be the on-ramp for the 2 down here, make a turn, and then engage Stevenson over here. Unless what they're trying to claim is that he, I don't know, cut across the grass, but I don't see the evidence for that. We didn't see any tire marks or anything of the sort. So, if that's not the case, then he would have come up this way and more or less made a turn right here in order to engage her, going out of his way. And the thing is, too, is he took the 224, that would have taken him right by Gina Goulet's place, which doesn't make sense why he would have headed back to Shuby in the first place. So, what seems more likely to me is that he then took the 2 all the way back, heading this way, and was approaching Stevenson from behind. And it would actually make a little more sense from the way that their cars are. So if we go back to some pictures that we have available, you know what, we'll stick with the video, yeah. So the car in the background, the one that's on fire, that one they're claiming is Wortman's car. So he's actually would have come up behind her, and the car that's not on fire yet is Stevenson's car. So that would have actually lent some credence that he approached from behind this way and ended up ramming her. But at the same time, they're claiming that it was a head-on collision. So it's not making a lot of sense. But really the problem is this part right here. So what I'm having trouble understanding is why he deliberately passed Gina Goulet's place, only to turn around, head back towards Shuby, engage Stevenson, and then head to Gina Goulet's place. None of this makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense, because he would have literally, he just is doing these huge loop-de-loops for no apparent reason. The thing is, too, is that when you calculate this drive-in, this will take about 5 minutes one way. So when Wortman headed down from Shuby towards where he engaged Morrison, that would have been 5 minutes. Then he turns around, it's another 5 minutes on the highway to get back to Shuby. So we're talking at least 10 minutes in order to engage. So none of that makes any sense to me when I look at it from this perspective. But there's another problem. Because they're saying on Highway 224 near Milford Street, Gabriel Wortman was involved in some sort of accident with a police car being operated by Constable Heidi Stevenson, a peace officer and member of the RCMP, as both vehicles had front-end damage. Both vehicles were on fire. Constable Stevenson was located deceased, and her firearms and 2 magazines were missing. Okay. At Highway 224 near Milford Street. Well, here's the thing. This is Milford down here, and there's a lot of Milford streets in Nova Scotia. But if you type in Milford Street, you type it in, Milford Street. Yeah, it's pulling you down over here. So that's even Milford Road, technically. So we have this down here, but most of the time when you just type in Milford, what's going to come up, actually, now it's not coming up, it doesn't seem like. Or maybe it was this one. Yeah, okay, it was this one over here in Milton that popped up a lot for me. But Milton is way the heck over here, and we're over here, so that doesn't really work. So the closest thing I can think of is that they were referencing, ooh, I really overshot it, is that it had to be Milford Road, at least around this area of Milford Station. That would mean, we go back to satellite, like I said, Highway 224 intersects with this main vein over here, 102. So it was right here, it was right over here that roughly where we said that Chad Morrison was shot, which means that this was supposedly took place roughly around this area, about there, at Highway 224 near Milford Street, that is in the Milford area. The problem is when you then go down and take a look at it. So here we are. We have none of our landmarks in order to say that this is the same area. As well, we have the street lamps that are completely different from the ones that we were seeing in both the video and the pictures. There's no water tower, there's no gazebo, there's no residential area. I mean, once again, we go back to these photos. You see houses in the background. We got a gazebo over here. We have the water tower. So now it seems like from this warrant that they're putting out, they're trying to change the place where Stevenson was gunned down. At least that's the impression I get from it. If we go back to Shubenacadie, there is Highway 224 down here, but it's not Milford. It's not Milford whatsoever, and there's no Milford Road around there, there's no Milford Street, nothing. It's just, this is Highway 224 that continues down this way until it intersects over here. So as far as I can tell, that's what they're saying when they say Highway 224 near Milford Street. Which means that they're trying to change from this location here. Now, why would they want to do that? Why would they deliberately want to change the location? Change where the actual event went down? They would do it if there was a real royal screw-up that took place on that day at that location. If they happen to be, it didn't go down the way that they explained it, but maybe this was a friendly fire incident, which is something that Seamus and I and Steve have theorized from the very beginning, that maybe it's just quite possible that with the confusion of Wortman dressed as a police officer, driving around a near identical police cruiser, maybe it's possible that there was some confusion. And 2 RCMP officers engaged each other. Whether that it was probably quite possible that it was Morrison and Stevenson. One saw the other, one panicked, and they ended up getting into an accident. And then in all the confusion, they got out and started shooting at each other. Or maybe one shot the other. You know, let's just say that as an example. And this is all theorizing right now. Maybe there was someone was coming up this way. Morrison was coming up this way, let's just say. And then who knows, because this is technically a on-ramp, but just bear with me. We'll just try. Maybe there was someone, they were coming down this way, they happened to spot this other RCMP officer go this way. And then there was a car accident, you know? They didn't know that it was each other. Or maybe there was a third RCMP officer involved. Maybe one who looked like Wortman. I'm just theorizing, but there had to be a real reason for them wanting to change this story, where they want you to believe that Wortman did this huge loop-de-loop. Well, number one, that it all went down in this area, in this whole area right here, when we can confirm that it didn't. And if that's not the case, if they can't get you to believe that this is what ended up going down, then they got to make you believe that there was this huge loop-de-loop that Wortman ended up doing in order to engage these two, and then proceeded to go to Gina Goulet's place, when he could have just headed directly there. He didn't have to engage anyone. He didn't have to go back to Shubenacadie. It wouldn't have really made sense if he was on the 102 and then sort of came down to this area right over here, for the sole fact that the Highway 2 is not going to take him to where he needs to go. He needs to take the Highway 224. So, who knows? Maybe if Morrison was even over here. The point is that his next move should have been take 224, go all the way up to Gina Goulet's place, and continue what he had started. I mean, he can easily park behind the house, lay low. It's not like they're going to be just looking in people's houses immediately, you know, doing these door-to-door searches in this area. They think he's still on the run out there. So they either need you to believe that this went down where it didn't go down, or that he did this huge roundabout way in this whole area of Shubenacadie to Milford. Either way, it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I firmly believe that really, I just realized I did not have my screen on the second time for you when I was painting a little bit. Well, sorry about that, but I think I made my point already. It's just that they need you to believe that either went down right here when it didn't, or they needed you to believe that everything went down in pretty much this area right here. That he just did this random thing in this whole area right there. And the only reason I can think of is that the RCMP is trying to cover something up specifically about that. And what was the significant event that went down in that situation? It's not even that Gina Goulet was killed. It's that Heidi Stevenson was killed. Which means they're trying to cover up something about Heidi Stevenson. And my question to you is, where's Morrison? It's been 2 months since this whole situation went down, and all we've really gotten from him was his exit from the hospital, where people were there holding signs, they were clapping for him. He reunited with his wife and kids, and they went home or went somewhere. But he's disappeared. Just like Jesus Campos in the Las Vegas shooting, the security guard who was shot in the leg, who did one interview with Ellen DeGeneres, canceled everything else, and he's off in the wind somewhere. Never to be heard of again. Never gave another interview. And it's the same sort of thing, only we didn't really get an interview with Morrison where he told his side of the story. I mean, by now, he's been debriefed. This is something they may have even done in the hospital, but even so, he wasn't in the hospital for that long, so this is something that he already would have gone back, they would have debriefed him, gotten his statement, and by then, he should be cleared to go out and talk to the public about what happened that day. But the RCMP is not letting him. Who knows? Maybe they sent him somewhere else. Maybe he got transferred. Maybe he's still in the area, but the RCMP are telling him, you cannot speak to the public about this. So, why can't he speak to the public? Because something went down. Something important, something big. And I think it was the wrongful death of Heidi Stevenson at the hand of a fellow RCMP officer. That's just my theory. but it's the most plausible one, I think. Rather than lying about the locations, rather than he did these big loop-de-loops, makes more sense to me they accidentally killed their own officer and now are covering it up. Anyway, that's it for me. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm Adrian Lloyd. This is just my stupid opinion.